We're bringing back the skillet meal with a kielbasa, potato, and Brussels sprout skillet. It's all made together, a delicious spice mixture on the vegetables. Kielbasa makes it really easy with a ton of flavor and a really quick mustard sauce to go with it. Believe me, this is gonna be delicious. It's a great weeknight, and I can't wait for you to try it. This is really a weeknight, one skillet meal that really uses things that you're gonna have on hand, hopefully. If not, maybe one thing you won't have on hand is Brussels sprouts, but it's a great way to utilize these components. What I love about kielbasa is it has the flavor. It has that smokiness almost of a sausage. It's ready to go. You could have one ahead, keep it in your freezer, pull it out the day before to let it thaw. And then it's just the beautiful flavor component, and it cooks super quick along with everything else. So we're gonna get things started on the stove. We're gonna finish them in the oven. We're gonna add flavor along the way. What I'm starting with is the kielbasa, and what I have here is one that I am just scoring. Now, you might say, why are you scoring it? It's for looks. It's completely for looks. Because if you score it every so often, you're giving it these relief marks where maybe you'll cut it too, but then as it browns in the skillet a little bit and then finishes in the oven, it just creates that, see that's all those marks in there? It's just gonna make it look better. It could draw out a little bit more flavor too, which I like. So I have some oil that we're gonna then start cooking our other vegetables in also. And it's just been warming and heating up here on the stove. So anytime you're working with a stainless steel skillet, if you wanna know why something is sticking, there's two reasons. You're either not using enough of whatever fat you're using, in this case oil, and you're not preheating it. Make sure to preheat it and make sure to use enough so things don't stick. That goes for vegetables too. We're gonna use this oil for the vegetables, but first what we're gonna do is stick this in the cut side down. I wanna brown it, get a little bit of a crust on it. So we're gonna put it right in here. We're gonna let it sear in the oil and then move on to all of our vegetables. I'm starting to get the rest of the components ready because the kielbasa has pretty much seared. And what I have here is an onion that I've cut off both sides, the root end and that stem end, and I'm just slicing it. I just want a nice slice on this because I like the texture of the slice. And what we're gonna do is start the onion so it gets a better finish and it gets a better texture to it and begins to really cook down. So what I have over here, you can see it. Let me show you how beautiful this is. Look at that. Look at that beautiful. We only need to do it on one side, but what I'm gonna do now is just remove it, and it's began to flavor that oil too, which I really like. So we're gonna set that aside. Those cut marks are trying to get some browning on them. We're gonna grab all this onion because I want it to cook down more. We're gonna obviously finish everything in the oven, but I want the onion to really become soft and just kind of begin to melt in and get some color on it. So I'm gonna put it right into that oil. We're gonna add a little bit of salt because you should season it every layer and finish getting the potatoes and Brussels ready. Our onion is just about done, so I want to finish up on the potatoes and the Brussels. With the potatoes, I'm using gold potatoes. Use what you have on hand. Russets will work here too. I'm slicing them up into a nice cube. You don't have to be perfect here, but I want them to be something, potatoes are more dense, so they take a while to roast in the oven. So I'm breaking them down that they'll roast quicker, but also have a nice surface area to them too, to get the crispiness. Now, what I'm gonna do then is offset them with some really delicious spices that just enhance it, but don't overpower. And I think that's the key here. Kielbasa has a great flavor too, so there's no reason to overpower. We're just kind of using everything and bringing out more flavor. So cubing all the potatoes, and then we're gonna have the Brussels. So I like the Brussels to stay slightly crisp, tender, get a little bit of char on them, so I just cut them in half. Any of those little outer leaves I keep. If they're damaged leaves though, or have any type of wear on them, look a little bit of anything like spotted, then those I will remove. So what we're doing here is just mixing together. Do you see all this beauty? You get your green, you get your starchy potatoes. So what we're gonna have is a little bit more olive oil. Just drizzle that over because this is gonna be the carrier of helping them roast. There's gonna be some in the skillet too, but just a little bit more because we wanna adhere a nice little spice mixture. So it's just some onion powder and garlic powder. Has the sweetness of the garlic without too strong. It has some paprika and a little bit of cayenne. You can, of course, always mix that up if you want to and not have cayenne if you don't want spice. I'm gonna have some black pepper, and I like a good amount of it. And then, of course, you need a little bit more salt before we mix it together. And you just wanna make sure you incorporate everything. So we have that beautiful spice mixture on it, which is very simple. To me, it's like an all-purpose one to keep around. You could put that on anything. It's good on chicken. It adds a little bit. I think I grew up with onion powder and garlic powder. More so than real garlic, we had garlic powder. And then I feel like I went through a time where I didn't like it because I thought, oh, that's not real garlic. But there's a time and a place for it, and it works really well. And if it's fresh, it has a lot of flavor, which I love. So, this smells good. You get that beautiful aroma. I'm gonna grab the skillet so we can just put it all together. You can see our onions are really soft, translucent, beginning to brown around the edges, and that's what I want. I want them to have a little bit of color. We want those to work down more so they really take on a sweeter flavor than just strong onion. So now we're gonna put all this beautiful blend in here. This is so simple, and that's what I like about it. Make sure you scrape out any of that residual spice mixture, because that's flavor. And why would we wanna miss out on any flavor? So what I'm gonna do is put this skillet first without the meat. Notice that meat doesn't need to cook as long, or I don't need it to roast and get those browned edges like I do these. I'm gonna put this in the oven, toss it a time or two, and then we're gonna add halfway through the meat and let it finish up. I'm just pulling this out of the oven. You can see with the last few minutes, I put in that kielbasa, let it fully just kind of roast up to temperature. Look at everything, that's what I love. I tossed it a couple times just to make sure everything was browning a little bit. You want the potatoes to be tender, you can check them with a knife. That's really all you have to do. So while that's just slightly cooling, we're going to make a really quick mustard sauce. Kielbasa, potatoes, all that goes really well with mustard. So it's gonna be kind of just a convergence of different sauces. I'm gonna grab my spatula. But what I have here is a little bit of mayonnaise to start. So it's gonna have a little bit of creaminess, richness to it. We're gonna put that right in a bowl. And this is what's great. This is a great one too to keep on hand, but you can make this ahead, have it in your fridge, and not worry about it too if you wanted to. We're gonna do some Dijon mustard. Now, I know some people don't like mustard. This is a mustard sauce. So there are no substitutions for the mustard. You could switch it up and do just yellow mustard. I think the flavor is much better with the nuance of the Dijon, but if you want to, you can do that. So then I'm gonna have some whole grain mustard. It has different flavors. It also has a great texture to it that works really well in here. We're also gonna do, just to offset that, some honey. So it has kind of that honey mustard, sweet, tangy beautifulness going on, which is to me really important here. So we're gonna put that right down in there. And then you just wanna season it with a little bit of pepper. Usually mustard is salty enough in your mayonnaise that you shouldn't have to necessarily add salt, but you can taste it once it's done. Now, I personally will add just a little bit of cayenne. You don't have to. I just like a little bit to add some more oomph to it, but that's totally a personal preference. Just whisk it all together. Looks so good already. I love different sauces. I'm someone that, like, no matter what it is, if there is a sauce, a component that can be gone on top or on the side, it's one of my favorites. So this I do serve on the side. You have little bowls of it. You could drizzle it. I just think it's a better one to let people kind of choose their preference. But see how the mustard seeds and that whole grain mustard, to me, really make it a beautiful thing. And I like the component of having that texture in there. So this is where you just serve it up. You could do it with a salad if you want, but you do have the Brussels in there, which is really nice. I already had cut myself a piece of the kielbasa. I'm gonna take a big bite here. Get all 3 pieces. I'm gonna put a little bit of this mixture on it. So we're gonna take a little bit of that mustard, put it right over the top. Guys, doesn't that look good? I love the mustard. I love mustard. What I really like, you get really tender, creamy potatoes with a little bit of crispness, which you can see on here. Those Brussels really got a beautiful roastedness to them with the flavor. And it's just a hint and kind of amps up the flavor with that spice mixture we put on it, let alone the kielbasa and all the flavor it has. It's a great meal. This is one of those come home from work, you want something that's hearty, good, but not too much work. We already worked a full day, right? This is what you make. You have the things on hand, you can put it together quickly, make a quick sauce while it's in the oven, and it's all ready to go. So what do I hope you do with this? I hope you make this. And don't do what I just did. I almost grabbed this. Remember, it's hot. So sometimes when there's a hot skillet, put a hot pad on it so you remember. But I hope you make this. I hope you share this video around so other people can make this too, because good food doesn't have to be takeout. Doesn't have to be pre-made. It can be something you make at home after work in an evening and still enjoy fully. Share it around. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe. The video, if you want to see it again, is always on my website. Until then, enjoy something delicious. That's the point.